1, 2, 3, 31, 32, 33. 33 birds.
Since he's owned the property, they've tagged 33 birds off this farm. Let's go check out his property and see why they're punching so many tags here in South Carolina. Ransom's got a great property. He's done a really good job managing it, working on the pines, doing fire, getting some native habitat in here, and boy, does he have a pile of turkeys. Just want to walk you through the property and the steps Ransom's taken to really turn this property around and create some great habitat, especially for turkeys, but also deer and quail.
So we're at a place where we call Arrowhead, which is about a 40-acre block of timber. It kind of comes up to the ridge that we're sitting on. In 2019, we timbered most of the property, or as much as we could, and we were targeting 70, basal feet per acre. We saw the end result, and unfortunately, we didn't think that was thin enough. So we came back in here, and we took this to 60 basal feet per acre. This was the third burn that we've had in here. We burned it about a month ago. Already having the green up. We've had very little rain in South Carolina. They actually had a burn ban last week. So, not much moisture, but we've still got a lot of green. We created a food plot right up there on the ridge. We have turkeys that roost over here. There's a swamp to my left. The turkeys have historically pitched off onto the side of the hill and then worked their way up the spine of the ridge up into this food plot. But it's wild that we timbered it 8 years ago, 7 years ago, and now we need to come back and do it again because we've jumped to already 120 basal feet per acre. So pines really grow, and you learn from your mistakes, and we should have gone thinner at the time, and we'll come back in here and get it thinned, hopefully as soon as the wood market improves.
So Ransom, you learned you need a little more sunlight reaching the ground, and we've got to reduce those stems down to get at least 50% sunlight to the ground to actually get something growing.
Yep.
Tell us about the fire, how the response has been, that first fire. Did you have as much grass or forbs? Just walk us through that whole process.
Our first fire was in 2021. And, it's kind of one of those fires you're trying to clean up, right? So there's slash everywhere. It's kind of just get whatever you can get burned and get it burned. The later fires, we've become more strategic. We've done a lot of backing fires coming down off the spine of the ridge. And what we found in the latest burn too is we ended up doing a lot of strip head fires because the humidity wasn't quite where we needed it to be, but we were end up stripping kind of parallel to the spine of the ridge, and the fire was really moving this north and south more than east and west, which we had planned on kind of an east-west fire, but you kind of got to adapt with the conditions. As you get less sunlight, it seems to be, at least for us, more grasses than forbs. There's a place that we burned this year, and it's pretty open. There's a kind of a small block, but we have tons of forbs just due to a lot more sunlight hitting the ground. We've done predominantly dormant season burns. We have tried some growing season burns. We got one that kind of went, but it's really, really tough to get, for us at least, with the humidity. It's tough to get them going in the summer.
That fire's done a great job keeping some of those nasty invasive species at bay, the volunteer pines. Have you had to come in, do any herbicide treatment or anything like that to really keep this, or is fire just doing it all?
Yeah, fire's doing it all. This block of timber is one of our few blocks that has some oaks in it. So we have done some Hack-and-Squirt around our oaks. We had a bunch of cedars throughout the property, and we've cut the cedars down, let them lay, burned them. We haven't done no herbicide for the grasses or invasives. It's all been just, targeting TSI and really trying to release the few oaks that we have.
We're driving around, Ransom made a great observation. If you're using fire, it's not 100% effective. You may have to clean up a little bit, but that's all based on the conditions and the fuel load. So Ransom, tell me what you saw here.
Yes, we were burning, and this is a sensitive area. We've got a couple places where we can't get the fire out. So we had a good wind. It was about 10 to 12 miles an hour, but the humidity was a little bit high. And the wind was really picking up later in the afternoon. So we kind of had to get the burn done, by call it 2 o'clock. But there were some spots where we just didn't get the consumption that we wanted. The fire just didn't carry underneath of it. So you look right here, you can see where the fire carried, set back all these weeds and brushes that were growing. And unfortunately on this side, the fire didn't carry. I mean, the fire carried right here and did a great job killing. but didn't go down there. So this summer we'll come back through and probably just hit it with a backpack sprayer and just get rid of it. That way, we don't have another 2 years of growth in it before we burn again.
Maybe you missed a fire, and a critical fire, and you've got a bunch of hardwood saplings coming in. You may have to go out with a backpack and spray those hardwood saplings out in your unit. Or if they really get out of reach and out of control, might have to have a crew come in and spray them. But it's really important to be able to hit that when they're kind of at this level, when you can hit them with a sprayer. If they grow up out of reach, you're out of the game. You need to be able to cover those leaves with the herbicide. So don't want them to get too tall, and especially when it gets too tall, what happens is you don't have any fuel underneath to carry that fire. So you're in a world of trouble.
Is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Also by Green Cover Food Plots, Winchester, PH Outdoors, Moultrie, Steel, Fleet Outdoor Apparel, Morel Targets, Fourth Arrow, Soil Pro Outdoors, Scorpion Venom Archery, Case IH Tractors, Burris Optics, and Redneck Hunting Blinds.
So we just got to a spot with great comparison to where we just were and what's going on here. Ransom, kind of walk us through the process here and your observations through the years.
Yeah, so we thinned this in 2018. This was just a little road, and we pushed it out to make, a small food plot. It's lined with oaks, so we pushed the food plot as big as we could until we ran into the oaks. We burned this area 3 times. We burned this last year, so I guess, this is our nesting piece of the checkerboard. We burned a little bit down the hill this year and burned a little bit over there. So you're hoping to put nesting next to brooding and make it easy on the hens and most of all the poults. We timbered this to 70 basil feet per acre. It was too thick, and it really is now. I mean, you look 7 years later, and I had a forester out here, and he says we're pushing 110, 120 basil feet per acre now. So way too thick. We need to get it thin, but the burning is still working. We're still having decent nesting habitat, so we'll continue to burn and wait for the pine market to recover. But until then, we're going to continue to burn, continue to kind of checkerboard the property. But we did learn 70 basil feet per acre is too thick.
You got to think long term, right?
Yeah.
Just like if you're doing Hack-and-Squirt, managing hardwoods, Hack-and-Squirt, or girdle, you're thinking about once you release some trees, those trees are going to, now they got more sunlight, so they're going to blow up. Yep. Those canopies are going to start filling out even more. You're going to start putting on more wood. So think about long term. A lot of folks, first time through, especially Hack-and-Squirt, even harvest, if you're leaning towards that habitat side, a lot of folks that first thinning go a little too thin because they forget about what's going to be like in 2 or 3 years with that sunlight and that growth. There were some remaining hardwoods, so I used the Hack-and-Squirt method to knock those hardwoods back. So Ransom, tell us what you did and kind of how many years it's been since this tree's been hit.
It feels like yesterday, but it was probably 4 years ago. We came in here and Hack-and-Squirted. I remember one summer it was hot as could be, but we Hack-and-Squirted a lot of trees. You can see them on this area, and now the tops are gone. I mean, and it's laying right here, and hopefully the next time we run a fire through here, which will be, next February or March, hopefully it'll be consumed. But it's amazing. It dies standing, and then once it rots, it falls over, and it's already decomposing. Hopefully it'll be consumed by the fire. But another thing I was telling Daniel, Heath Norman was out here, and he was out here cutting the cedars, and so we had a bunch of cedars here, some of them of which are large, of large size, and we cut those down too. So we not only cut the cedars, but we came back in and Hack-and-Squirted just to try to open up the canopy as much as we can.
Ransom, will you kind of pick this log up on the hardwood and then try to pick this cedar up, and let's see if there's a difference. Pretty light?
Yep.
All
Nothing
right.
to it.
Nothing to it. Maybe a little thicker stem, but about the same size.
Yeah. I think this thing's, not as lighter than I thought it would be.
But still heavier.
Oh yeah, definitely heavier.
And the reason is that hardwood, it was left standing and it can air dry. Air drying is not going to hold as much moisture than just felling a tree and leaving it on the ground, where it's going to hold more moisture. And so that's really important when you're talking about keeping an area clean, getting it clean with fire, being able to consume it on the next round. Those trunks that are holding more moisture aren't going to be consumed as quickly over the years. That dry wood, man, it's going to bust up. Tops are going to just blow up when they hit the ground and probably be consumed better in the next fire. Don't be afraid of leaving those trees standing. Ransom, were you ever scared walking through here of, you know, big windstorm or anything?
No. I was happy to see them fall. I was hoping they would fall.
Completely safe. We get that question a lot. Why you leave all these trees standing? Isn't that dangerous? Folks, if you're out here in a big windstorm or a tornado that's knocking those trees down, you shouldn't be outside anyway. So completely fine. They're going to fall over time. And of course, we've got a lot of sunlight reaching the ground and great habitat underneath. All right, we were just up on top of this hill where Ransom saw some scratching and has really good habitat, little thicker pines, more grass component. But we got down here, another little food plot. But we talked about this checkerboard pattern, which Ransom is great at, breaking up his units into small areas, getting a lot of diversity, different stages of growth throughout the property. And that checkerboard pattern has yielded in a lot of great turkey numbers and great hunting. So kind of walk us through this hunting strategy and setup based on your habitat.
Yeah, so these aren't big blocks of burning that we did, but they're very strategic. So a lot of sunlight over here, so instead of having it just dominated with grasses, there's a whole lot of forbs in that little area. We also burned a block right across, or right down the road here, about 100 yards. It's about a 6-acre block that we burned. And again, this was the hill that we burned last year. So you've got nesting, brooding, open travel corridors and roads. And then, even for our deer, we've got some nice forbs that they can eat on. Because this grass will get too high unless we spray it or kill it. So it will get too high. But having these roads and burned areas that they can get into, it's nice. So from a hunting perspective, we can hunt the travel corridors if it gets too high, later on in the season. And they roost here. I mean, it's a historical roost site. For them. They could be over there, they could be over here, but so if you can, and you can sneak into this blind using the trees, you can walk in the grass, and you can be in here completely unnoticed very early in the morning. So it's a really nice place where you can quietly get into, not alert everybody that you're here, and then see what happens and go from there.
Yeah, so the key to having great turkey numbers is, of course, great habitat. And trapping. Ransom's also done a pile of trapping nest predators. And there's a balance there. How much habitat do you have? How much trapping do you have to do? Do you have to, do more trapping if you don't have enough habitat? If you can do both like Ransom's doing, even better. He's got a bunch of Duke traps he's been running for years, knocking back predators every year, and you have to stay after it because they keep filling that void. Managing those nest predators, man, he's got great turkey hunting, and this is just a great example of how it all comes together based on the habitat. And when you're turkey hunting, where are those hens? Those toms are looking for those hens. Nesting habitat, these travel corridors, as those toms going back in between, more nesting and other habitat. There's a lot going on here, and that's yielded in a lot of tags getting punched for Ransom's farm. Ransom's going to be behind the Winchester here tomorrow morning. We'll see if he can get it done. If you're able to get outside this week, do some habitat work, trapping if it's legal, maybe go on a turkey hunt, make sure you take advantage of getting in creation, but more importantly, slow down, listen to the Creator and the purpose He has for your life. Thanks for watching Growing Deer.